This is a very annoyed but special rant video. I have been holding in talking about shows that have just been terrible. In fact, just to give you a little background, I restrained myself from posting a video about She-Hulk despite the fact that I recorded it, edited it, and even uploaded it. There was an upload error in YouTube which delayed it for about a week or two, and I decided to just not post it because it wasn't really as relevant anymore, and also my thoughts had been summed up by most of the internet, so I didn't think it was that important. But recently another project has released that has desecrated the source material, Velma, desecrating the legacy of Scooby-Doo. Now, big whoop, Scooby-Doo, a cartoon that's been around forever. Who cares, right? Who cares about Scooby-Doo? Who cares? Well, let me tell you who cares. Pretty much everyone who grew up watching Scooby-Doo, which is, I would say, probably 90% at least of America. At least with America specifically. There's other countries that have also watched this cartoon, and it's because it is so popular and it has withstood the test of time so much that there are still animated movies and shows being produced today, and that show has, that cast of characters has withstood the test of time. They have been reincarnated into new designs, but mostly similar to the original. Now, I'm not saying you can't shake up the design of the characters a little bit, that's fine, but Velma did something very different. Velma specifically, and with the intent of aggravating audiences, altered the designs and the characters themselves, how they act and behave on scene. They altered the characters so much that they're unrecognizable, and did it specifically to outrage fans. It's one thing for She-Hulk to get a bad adaptation that no one really seems to like except for critics. Don't ever listen to critic reviews, by the way. They'll tell you that it's the second best show that's come out this year. She-Hulk isn't as widely as viewed and as popular as, say, something like Scooby-Doo. The Witcher also had a very, very bad show that not even critics can agree that, that it's good or not. They're ranking in the low 30s or 40s in the percentages, and it's not doing good on either front. Now, the problem with those shows and Scooby-Doo is the same, is that the creators, the people who are in charge of making shows like this, do not care about the source material. They do not have any kind of respect for the creators who made it so long ago. It does not matter to them at all. All they are trying to do is to tell their story with someone else's characters. And the repeating question that I always bring up, and this is every time I have a conversation with someone else about this, I always bring this up, is that why not, if you're going to change everything, why not just make a new show? Or why not, if you really wanted to do it in Scooby-Doo, for example, why not just make a different group of mystery solvers? We've seen this with Batman Beyond. Batman Beyond had a separate main character set in the future inherit the role as Batman. Now, Bruce was still around to help him become Batman, but Terry McGinnis is very much his own character, and the same thing can be done in Scooby-Doo or whatever else. Whatever kind of show, whatever kind of franchise, you can make a new cast of characters within that universe. And it won't disrupt the original cast. It won't put any shame on the original characters created so long ago with love and care and creativity. But Hollywood knows that that is not profitable. In fact, my brother just told me something that really resonated with me, is that Hollywood does not care about creativity. It does not care about making a good product. It cares about making profit. And as long as these shows can be released and make a decent amount of money for the streaming service or channel they're attached to, they're going to keep doing it. And now this is extremely frustrating for people like me, people like you, by chance, if you make creative projects, writing, art, whatever, music, it doesn't really matter. If you make your own project, if you spend years like I did, my first comic idea came in September of 2019, and I worked until July 1st to release the first chapter of that comic. and I worked very hard on it, and it got less than 50 views. Now, this is sort of normal. You can expect to see things not pop off immediately, especially if it's your first project, and I'll be honest, my artwork was kind of bad on that first issue. My writing wasn't that great either, so I understand why it did not pop off. But let's say, fast forward to 3 years now, I have a new project coming out. I'm working on this very, very hard. I'm doing work in it daily, and I am making sure that this is the best comic or any kind of creative project I've ever worked on. I'm making sure this is the best thing it can be. And now let's say I release this, and I have not released yet as a recording. Let's say I release this and it gets 100 views. 100 views is significantly better than my first project, but unfortunately 100 views is not going to make something pop off. It is not going to take off and go places with only 100 views. Now, that could be for several reasons. That could be for people not liking the story, people not liking the art, or perhaps I didn't market it enough. That's not true. I've been posting about it nonstop. But just to let you, give an idea of how many things can affect that. However, there is another thing that is affecting all artists, all writers from any walks of life if you're starting out making your own project. And that is the fact that you have to make your brand. You have to immediately start out by yourself, no kind of outside sources that you can pull from to make this work. And what I'm talking about is taking a previously created, established brand like Scooby-Doo and making a new show with the Scooby-Doo name or the name of a character from Scooby-Doo, Velma. This project is always going to get more traction, more views, more attention than anything that I can do that is original work. Unless something happens and I miraculously take off, hit the like button, it's not really going to happen. The problem is that Hollywood knows that instead of doing original works and trying to create something, creative, instead of trying to rely on previously made brands, they can just use that and get the, automatic following of the fan base, already bring them into it, and make something so horrendous that it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, people will watch this and people will even hate watch this just to make fun of it. And at the end of the day, that is still going to get them views. Now, there's only one way that we can really push back against this, and that is to cancel your subscriptions. HBO Max, as much as I like watching the classic cartoons from the old days, I have canceled my subscription, and that's because I don't want to support this. And what makes this really worse, I think, what makes this even worse, is that not only, for people like me and you who may be working on, writing or comic art or anything creative, what's even worse than not just us feeling this issue with not being able to get the traction that a show like Velma or She-Hulk will get just because of name recognition. We don't have that option. What makes it worse is that there were several other canceled animation projects that HBO Max, Warner, Discovery had going on that they canceled, but yet Velma was the one they decided to keep. That is probably the most frustrating thing when you look at it from the creative artist writer perspective. I'm sure a lot of these shows had genuine talent put into it. There's a lot of creativity and passion put into those, I'm sure. And now these people won't be able to see these projects come to life, but have to watch Velma go and be not celebrated, but publicized, promoted, and tried to be propped up by this streaming service that they were supposed to be on. Their projects, their creative works were supposed to be on, but were canceled in place of Velma. Now, that, when you look at it from the artist's perspective, is suddenly a whole lot worse. Again, the only way we can really stop this is to show it with our wallets. We have to put our wallets into it and say, hey, or take our wallets out of it rather, and say, hey, we're not going to support you. You're making terrible decisions, you're making terrible shows, you're desecrating the history of an established brand that we all love, and we're not going to fund you anymore. If this is what you're going to do with our money, I'm not going to do it. No, I'm not going to give them any more money, and neither should you. We need to show Hollywood that outrage and destroying a legacy created by many people from the past does not equal profit. We need to show them that, and the only way we can do that is by not giving them money. Instead, maybe decide to put that money into independent creatives or other brands that are doing a better job with their material. For instance, Isom is a fantastic little comic. Now, I'm not going to say this is the best comic in the world. I was going to do a review of it, but I ended up just not doing it because I was too busy focusing on my own stuff. But Isom is a pretty good comic. It's its first issue of, I'm not sure exactly how many, but it's the first comic of the Rippaverse. Now, this is a pretty decent comic, and this is not just alone. There are several others. This is just the one I have on hand to show you as an example. We need to actually be engaged with the communities of these comics, because that's how things grow. You have a community, you have people working together and genuinely talking about the things they enjoy to boost the relevancy of this, to boost the conversation of this, to spread the word that alternatives to stuff like Marvel, DC, stuff like Warner Brothers, stuff like that does exist. There are alternatives and they are very good. Webtoon is a good source of a lot of that, in my opinion. There's quite a bit of stuff that isn't that great on there as well, but that comes with any kind of comic service. Webtoon, a lot of these guys do it for free as well, especially the Canvas crowd. We do it for free. We just do it for the passion of it. You take money away from HBO Max and maybe Disney Plus if you don't like what they're doing. You can take money away from that and put it into some support of some smaller creators, some independent creators. We have to grow up as well. We have to not let petty things get in the way of us uniting and trying to push against this terrible adaptation cycle that pretty much it seems like every business is going into. Netflix is notorious for having the worst adaptations known to man, especially when it comes to anime. But we need to stop letting petty arguments get in the way. We need to stop letting politics get in the way of supporting good products. We need to be able to separate the art from the artist, unless the artist is someone who's done something absolutely heinous and illegal. We need to separate the art from the artist. We need to be able to look and appreciate a work, the quality of it and the enjoyment of it, and be able to not think about all the little petty things that get in the way from us enjoying what we should be liking. And I encourage you, if you're a creative, if you are really into writing or art, don't let this get you down. A good friend of mine, JLou Art, commented on my post when I was feeling kind of down about this whole Velma situation, about it getting so many more views and immediate attention than anything I could ever create, unless you guys want to get involved. She said that it's up to us. It's up to us to make that story, to make something quality and to show what quality is, what people are missing. It's up to us to do that. And I, deep down, I know that, but it is, of course, discouraging to see these products that are not good, that everyone hates, and are just built to be divisive and outrageous. It's discouraging to see those things do better than any kind of success you might be able to see. Again, that depends on you watching this video right now. But it's up to us to make that story. I encourage you to make your story as well. Even if you think you're a little embarrassed about it. You're a little bit embarrassed about being a writer or an artist. You're like, oh yeah, here's my art. Don't be embarrassed about it. Show your art. Be proud of your art. Acknowledge that I'm always improving and I'm proud of what I've done, and I'm going to show that to people. Acknowledge the fact that the lighting is not that great in this video because I'm using outdoor light and half of my face is lit. Acknowledge the room for improvement and grow from that. Do not be ashamed of the art you're making or the writing you're making. We get better as we go, and unless we're just not trying at all, our art will improve. Our writing will improve. And it's up to, like I said, it's up to us to make that story. And speaking of stories, I happen to be making one myself. The next project I'm working on is Yishu. You might have seen my video, my previous upload, talking about the project and showing off some of the artwork and the style that I'm presenting this in. It is going to release its first chapter in 5 parts on Webtoon Canvas. You can read that absolutely for free on February 14th. That's right, Valentine's Day. You get to read all about Yishu and how her story begins. As soon as this is released, I will also be making a Kickstarter / GoFundMe. I'm not 100% final on either one yet, but I will be making a fundraiser for the printing of physical copies of the first issue, and I feel really good about it. I think it's one of my greatest works so far. The Demonico run, which was my first comic, that ended last year. Symbiotic began its first book last year, and it will create another one this year. I will have the second book released as well. I'm not quite sure if I want to do that physical or digital or not. The first one is 100% free for you to read on Tapas right now. You can go to that site. In fact, you can click the link in the description and read that all for yourself as well as Demonico. You can read through seasons 1 through 3. But Yishu is coming out February 14th, and I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be able to print that, but again, that is up to you. Now, just to clarify, if you do donate to the Kickstarter, this is to fund my future projects. This isn't just for Yishu printing. In fact, the success of Yishu's first chapter will highly determine whether I move on with this project or I start my next project. So just to clarify, if you do donate to this, it will fund the printing of the first book, guaranteed. That will happen. But anything else may be moved on to the next project, just simply because it depends on how it is received. Though I have a feeling that it is going to be received very well, because the art I'm really proud of, the story I'm really proud of. I think it's unique, and I think it's paying a lot of homage to a lot of your favorite cartoons and comics from the 2000s and 90s, especially in the art style, which I've specifically crafted to be a love letter to the 2000s. So with all that being said, recap, don't let the automatic numbers and views that the trending on Twitter that Velma and other projects that disrespect the source material, don't let that get you down. Fight back by not paying for that subscription. Fight back by saving your money and putting it in more, I would say, more higher quality products that the independents are creating right now. Again, a good example of a comic, ISOM, done very well. The first campaign actually got over $3 million in orders for the comic, and I believe other merchandise as well. So don't let these success, or quote unquote success, of stuff like Velma get you down as a creative. Make that comic, make that book, make that artwork, and promote yourself. Be proud of it and acknowledge that you can always improve, but with what I'm making right now, I'm really proud of it, and I'm going to show it to you without shame. So, all that being said, thanks so much for watching. Until next time,